Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here. John here, you there. Full show as always on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes hanging out with us. Morning, Abby. He'll be hanging out with us at 9:15. If the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, is not busy, he'll be dropping by at 10 o'clock. We'll discuss everything from his perspective going on in Major League Soccer. And we got a lot of news of the AM having to do with coaches and players and all of that other stuff that's going on in the Premier League and other places as we get ready for the Euros coming up on Friday. Friday, we'll kind of have a bit of a blow-through Euros preview in hour number two. Hour number two shaping up to be pretty busy. Here's the traffic for the week. Let's see, tracking down Glenn Davis, see if he can join us tomorrow to discuss everything going on with Houston Dynamo. Nico joining us at 10:30 Eastern, as he always does. Friday, looks like Bart, we're going to check on Bart and see if he can do opening kickoff, depending especially on if, with what happens with the national team with that second friendly. Hopefully our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring, we can pin them down to a particular point of the planet and then see if we can catch up everybody on what's going on, getting ready for the weekend and see who can come and visit in hour number two. But like I said, we can whip around, and that would include the Euros and anything else going on. That'll be on Friday. So that is what we're staring at for the remainder of the week. Guest-wise, obviously, the Spring and Summer six-pack, that'll be out Thursday night, Friday morning. Our USL review preview shows, let me see if I got them all right. It's W, Championship, League One, League Two, NPSL, WPSL. The Spring and Summer six-pack, that'll be out Thursday night, Friday morning, and you can catch up with all the leagues and everything going on there. And the U23s from last night, that was kind of painful. And Caleb Wiley was a starter in that lineup. 2-0 loss in the friendly to Japan. There were questions about the handball from Brian Reynolds early on in the 6th minute. Was it inside the 18? Was it outside the 18? Either way, since there was no VAR, since it was just a friendly there in Kansas City, they went ahead and said, yeah, it was inside the box. Here's your PK. And Japan was clinical in putting that through. Then they scored a second one, 2-0 win. With the activity that our national team designees have, don't know, obviously travel plans will be having them returning to Atlanta, say, today, and don't know how active they'll be in tomorrow and Friday. How many minutes can they give you on Saturday? I think you're looking at the midweek in D.C. and beyond. So we'll see how folks respond. And this will be that time of year that we always talk about with the physios and how important they are when it comes to your squads. So all of the U's that we're helping out the men's national teams and the youth national teams, they should be returning. But like I said, don't know how many minutes they can give you. Can they start? Don't know. This is where we talk to the physios and wave our hands frantically and ask, okay, what can Noah give me? What can Caleb give me? Those kinds of things. And so we'll have those answers and start the process of the 3 matches in 7 days coming up this weekend, Houston, at DC, and at St. Louis. And so we'll keep an eye on all that stuff. I was able to catch it on. I was going back and forth. Abby was watching it on YouTube. That's where I was. I was doing my late night workout, getting my miles in, and I was listening to it while it was on YouTube as I was making my circuits. And then I'd come back and I'd have it on Universo and on YouTube to kind of catch what was going on there. So how many minutes did Caleb actually play? Let's take a peek real quick and see as this is evolving into opening kickoff. Let's go to the U.S. Soccer website and see if our friends at U.S. Soccer have the breakdown of what happened last night with the Utes. Yeah, I feel like at that point I should sit there and go, what is a Ute? And current home, let's see, men's national team. No, I don't want the Brazil score. I want what happened last night. So this is what happens when you're going to like league websites and things. So U.S. Japan friendly. How about that? Let's search that and see how it gives it to us. Midweek viewing guide. Let's say Japan friendly. Yes, we know. And so it would be nice if I could. I don't know. See what's going on. So yeah, we'll see if anybody is faster at it than I am and can, let's see. So Japan soccer official website. So not that one. That is not the one that we were looking for. So competitions and men's. All right. So hang on just a second. Let me go to our friends at SofaScore. Let me see if SofaScore has the notes here. So USMNT. Let's see if we've got that. No results found. All right. Good work. How about USA football? All right. So Group C. Don't care. 23, 23, 24, 24. Okay, this is getting annoying. This is getting annoying. USA, Japan, and maybe Tyler can help us out in 4 minutes and he can come up with an answer. USA, no, I don't want USA Army. I feel like hang on. All right, so tell you what, look, if I'm going to do this, and it's going to drive me crazy until I don't, until I come up with the information. Let me see what we got here. Okay, so let's do that. All right, so that's our hold music while we're trying to come up with the answers here. So versus YouTube, USA preview. All right, great, fine. Fans can follow the action at ussoccer.com. Okay, about if we've finished the action. Can we I don't know. National teams. All right, so ussoccer.com stories, men's current roster, lineups, youth, extended, no. Oh, here we go. Men's youth national team. Okay, youth. Listed as U23 MNYNT. Okay. Schedule results. Okay, so schedule and results there. France and USA, no. That's not where we were going. This has just got to be riveting radio, I'm sure. How to watch and stream and preview and looking for the stat. I mean, Abby's driven me crazy, Emilio. Looking for the stats last night from the U23 match with Japan that the U.S. lost 2-0. And so we're trying to find those numbers. U.S. Locker live stream, how to watch it, because Tanner Tessman was wanting to be a part of things there. The AP is just blocking pages. Marko Mitrovic. Oh, I know. Hang on just a second. Maybe they've posted the final release. Hang on. I forgot that I'm on the U. No, they haven't posted them either. Nuts. This might end up being our first assignment of the morning, is trying to figure out these stats. Wow, this is going to bug me now. This is really going to bug me now. This is going to get to me. This is really going to get to me. Wow, this is really going to get to me. I just can't. No, this is, you would think that in a friendly that you could come up with, it's like, okay, NBC Philadelphia, NBC Philly, Telemundo Deportes showing the numbers. Marko Mitrovic tried to build out of the back. They scored again. Wow. Oh, so Buciolis U23s. Wow. I mean, I'd love to be. Oh, man. Okay, so there's your starting 11. First half, there's a note. It's like blah, 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 blah. Tanner Tessman, second half, substitutes. Okay, so Caleb played 45. That much I do know, because the USYNT had McGlynn, Harrell, and Tolkien coming in at the half for Gomez, Reynolds, and Caleb Wiley. That much we do know. God bless America, Tyler Pilgrim.
America.
You would think that when, the beloved country with which we sit and are blessed to be able to do what we can do every morning, that when there's a match, you could come up with the information from said match, even if it was a friendly.
You would imagine.
In the first 10 minutes of the show, we had to go down like 98 rabbit holes just to find a tweet to find out how many minutes Caleb Wiley played last night.
Hey, that's prime, I'm sure, like 2018 Twitter, trying to find everything you can from a tweet that's down in the dark web somewhere.
Oh.
It would be nice, considering all the money that U.S. soccer is putting into a facility and everything else. Like, hey, maybe just send one person that's going to send out some updates on the app or something. Minimum.
Because I was trying to find stats on SofaScore, and Abby's trying to find out, how many minutes Caleb played, because, we're going to need some folks starting on the weekend with 3 matches in a week that had some U duties attached to them. And so literally we spent the first 10 minutes of the show trying to find a stat and figure out how many minutes Caleb Wiley played last night in the match.
Well, you got the 45. Yeah, so at least we know that.
45, yes. There was opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code. As we'll get into Tyler's mug coming up in just a bit, as he is not obscured by the QR code and sipping morning beverage. Yes, that's a QR code for those of you watching, however you're watching us, whether it's on Twitch, the 280-character app, or on the YouTubes. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10% reinvested into things that are cool at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. God bless America. Wow.
Coming in hot this morning.
Oh, I am just, and we're supposed to be able to give folks information, it just, and having to, here's how I found it. Literally, it was in the Kansas City Soccer Journal, because they did a play-by-play of watching the match and screen capped all of the 280 character references. And so literally it is 60% down the article, where they're already down 1-0 before they give up the second goal early in the second half. And it says, Jack McGlynn, fancy graphic, Nathan, it literally last edited 9:13 p.m., June 11th. I'd like stats.
Yes.
But I get a picture from the Kansas City Soccer Journal. That's how deep of a dive we had to go here to find out these statistics.
Almost in the dark web. Just how it goes this morning.
God.
I know, I'm familiar with this feeling though. I'm very familiar with it. I just, I do it during silly season, because I'm like, let me just go see what I can find from like some random journalist in like Uruguay, that's reporting on one of his favorite players wanting to come to Atlanta United or something. Yeah. And then during all of the pretty much under 19 U.S. matches, it's like, dude, where do I need to go to find this information?
So most importantly, what is in the mug and what is the mug this morning?
So this is a breakfast blend.
Okay.
And I needed it this morning, but it is look, I'm going Pokemon this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to catch them all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, considering that business is about to pick up once again for Major League Soccer teams, and one in particular that had an episode of a documentary come out earlier this week.
Sure did.
That, whoo, boy. Wow.
Yep. Did he get your skin tingling a little bit?
but I mean, but if you think about it, I mean, you have to tip your hat to the organization for sitting there, and because there would be some instances, I'm sure, with a lot of different teams where you would sit there and it's like, no, we don't want that out. 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 This was warts and all, man.
Yeah, they I don't know, my conspiracy theory, and I don't think it's that much of a conspiracy theory, but I think you want to appease the fans, right? Which is normal. Mm-hmm. But also, I think, you had so many fans that were calling for, Pineda to do this, Pineda to do that. I mean, that's what we do as fans. That's what we do as pundits, journalists, whatever you want to call us. Because we all think we know better than the coach, right?
Yeah.
But, I think it's very easy to see a guy like Pineda, who is super, super soft on the outside. I mean, not soft in general, but super, polite, nice,
professional,
very professional on the outside. It to be very easy to be like, hey man, I want to see some table flipping.
Where's the fire, man?
Yeah, where is it at? Well, it was there. Uh-huh. We saw it, and that was raw emotion. And I'm happy, that the club came out and showed it, because I think it does show, one, this wasn't just done like in the past couple of days. First of all,
Yeah.
They've been working on this for a while. So I think had something flipped and it worked out for Pineda, this episode would have been an absolute banger. It would have looked like, the Manchester City documentary or something, right? Like, it would have made Pineda look so good. But on the inverse, if it didn't work out, then they can say, hey, we're being transparent. We're showing you what at least little snippets of what they were trying to do to fix it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it just didn't work out the way we wanted it to. But I mean, kudos to them for doing it. I like
it. That's an absolute banger.
Yeah. I mean, you see, but no, absolute full credit. And I'm just going to say this right now. If that is not submitted for every award when it comes to this particular medium and, documentaries and such, you better submit it for everything, and it better win everything, because of its raw nature and its openness. And, outside of the fact that it was released the way that it was, the players that were found speaking out, that you had the extremes in it. You had Dax, who was speaking out. And for those that haven't seen it, we'll give some of the stuff that was in it, but we encourage you to take 20 minutes, go to the YouTubes, go to the Atlanta United account and watch this. But you had the extremes there. You had Noah Cobb speaking up, and you had Dax McCarty speaking up. Dax initially was like, I'm the new guy. I don't want to ruffle any feathers here. And there was a reason I came here. But to have Dax and Noah be, two of the ones that spoke out in that locker room in the instance that was recorded, I thought it was intriguing, interesting, and eye-opening that you had both of the extremes there that were a part of this.
What have we said for years now? It feels like, when we talk about the twos and we talk about Noah and his rise as a player.
Yep.
He is unafraid.
Mm-hmm.
Unafraid of anybody
on
the pitch, but you don't get to see that off the pitch. And I think Noah is just take the football out of it for a minute. I think Noah is a very well-raised stand-up kid. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
He's well-spoken. He handles himself well. He gets emotional when the team loses. This last one, the bad one, before the break, he was in the locker room and he was not happy, like visibly not happy, and making it known. And good for him, because somebody's got to show something, right?
Yep.
So for him to come out and say some things in that documentary, like, and making points, that's the other thing. It's not like he's just talking to talk.
Yeah.
He's making points about like discipline. And again, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody that hasn't watched it, but like, he's making it a point to go in on like little things that need to be, you need to have some accountability from a player perspective. Like, it's things that the coaches absolutely probably could maybe enforce a little bit more, whatever. But from a player, like, take some pride in your craft, like little things like showing up on time and stuff like that. So, I don't know. He was not the voice I expected to hear. Let me just put it that way. And I'm so happy I did, though.
Well, I mean, for those of us that are twos junkies and are twos sickos, as Jarrett likes to refer to it, where we've gotten that's speaking English goodly on a midweek there, Junior. You've got a guy like Noah Cobb, who 15 years old, USL championship in the previous incarnation of Atlanta United 2's, designations and wins and losses. 15-year-old kid, and I say this because I'm a lot more than 39, he's not backing down from guys like Cameron Lancaster, who, twice his age, the Lou City roster, Tampa Bay, all those heavy spending independents that are there in USL championship. He's not backing down on that back line going up against dudes that are twice his age. And he has never been intimidated by his surroundings. And so for him to have grown as he has within the Atlanta United organization and being this voice at this young of an age, I mean, it shows how he was raised, as you're saying, his import, his professionalism, his approach, all of these things that have added up to where Noah Cobb is today, not backing down from his challenges in Major League Soccer, whether it's on the field or speaking up in a locker room.
Yeah, he like, and I see what Abby's saying.
Yeah,
in the Twitch pitch, like off the pitch, he's quiet. He is quiet, like off the pitch. I guess I guess her definition of off the pitch is like, away from the locker room and everything, which is fair for sure. But no, in that locker room, he had some stuff to say. And yeah, I think he can also pull the trump card too of saying, like, I've been here longer than most of y'all. I haven't been in the first team longer than most of y'all, but I've been here longer than most of y'all. So I've seen things change and I've seen the way things have been going. And
I've seen things, man.
I got a little PTSD. But no, I mean, I think it is a testament again, mostly to just who he is as a person, which is great. And I think Atlanta has always taken pride in, trying to develop young talent that is, they've got morals, they've got ethics, they're good people first and foremost before we talk about playing soccer. And so I think Noah is very much showing that he is that kind of guy, but also he's backing it up on the pitch too, because he hasn't really put much of a foot wrong in MLS play this year. We can take the DC game out of it. You put, Benteke up against an 18-year-old. Sometimes there's just things that are unfortunate. But
and he's a power forward, is 6'8", 260 basically.
Right. So not knocking him.
No, Benteke is a different bird, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Tyler Pilgrim hanging out with us from Scarves and Spikes, and Tyler comes on and he puts up with our shenanigans every Wednesday morning in the first hour.
Part of the shenanigans.
Part of it, yeah.
Well,
true, and to the other end of that perspective, where we're talking about someone who's been in the organization, who's grown up in the organization, you end up with the veteran presence of a Dax McCarty, who, once again, Dax isn't going to, hold anything back. He's not going to bite his tongue, but he's coming at it from the different angle of, I've been in Major League Soccer, I've seen what's going on, and he has turned into that instant leader that when the acquisition happened, I know a lot of us were sitting there thinking, okay, bring him in out of the bullpen, spot starter, let him lock things down, those kinds of things. He has turned into that on-field leader as well, out of necessity, whether it's international windows or schedule compression or whatever. It's the Dax McCarty that we've seen in other places. We now get to see that with Atlanta United, and he's stepping up as well in more than one way.
Dax McCarty is going to be, this is going to be a hot take.
Okay.
Dax McCarty is going to be I'm going to say it. He's going to be the most important player on this team for the next 2 months.
Far out. Okay.
So
understandable.
Yeah. I think, and I say that before, the documentary thing, like he is, like you said, he's that leader that the team has needed. That's not knocking on Guzan or Yakamakas or anybody else as a leader. Lennon, like he's the defensive midfielder right in the middle of the pitch all the time. He's vocal. He knows the game. I remember, and then you see it on the pitch too, in very visible ways. Like I remember was it against Cincinnati? I think it was.
Yeah.
Where
the ball's
gave away that
the ball's on the touch line, and everybody's kind of thinking it's going out, and
looking at it.
And you see Dax coming in, and he's the one he's the Lone Ranger, man. He's right there in the middle of the 18, and he's kind of pointing and going and chase after it.
Screaming.
Yeah.
Screaming, losing his mind, like, yelling. And I know I said it on here, that week, but like screaming at the guys, the thing that we had coaches scream at us when we were kids, like play to the whistle. Don't, like, it's not over the line yet. Go off the ball. Those are things that the team needs. But then you see in that documentary too, like what he does and what he provides off the pitch, which I think we already had a pretty good idea of that, but he came in. And it's funny because he says things in that documentary that I know we've all talked about before, about being the new guy, about how, you don't want to come in and step on anybody's toes and things like that. But I think there comes a time when it's like, all right, like nobody else is really stepping up the way they need to, maybe. So I'm going to do it. Like, here it is. Like, somebody's got to make a voice, and he did it, and he laid into him. And I think it's funny too, because I was watching it, and so if you've seen Wrexham, if you've seen the show, right? I don't know that they've done it this season. I'm not fully caught up on this season yet, but in the past 2 seasons, there's at least one episode each season where they'll have Phil Parkinson's F-word counter in the locker room.
Yes.
And I was listening to Dax go, and I was like, dang, I know this is a serious moment. And I know it's not the vibe of the documentary right now, but I would have died laughing and they just had an F-word counter for Dax McCarty in that locker room. because he was going in on him, and he should have. He had every right to. Don't worry about being the new guy and stepping on people's toes. Step on people's toes. Yeah, that enthusiasm, the F word enthusiasms, they were coming out, and I appreciated it.
The effing enthusiasm.
Yeah, it was great.
The effing enthusiasm that's there. But yeah, but you just get to a point to where, if you're having a conversation with somebody and you're staring them right in the eyes, if the cordial conversation isn't making a point, sometimes you got to dial it up. And sometimes it is the Phil Parkinson F counter that might need to be brought into the discussion to kind of to bring a point home and to hammer it home, those kinds of things,
Yeah.
So I mean, I get it, but it's like, what is it from the old Popeye cartoon? I've had all I can stands, I can't stands no more.
I can't stands no more. Yeah.
And so you just get to that point where it's just like, I can't stands no more. I got to speak my piece, and instead of it, being behind closed doors or out in the middle of the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground or what have you, it just happened to be in that moment. And, it was, there's a part of me that in the production, it's like, I wish it's either, do I want to hear the word itself? Do I want to hear a bleep, or do I want to hear it silenced out? That's a production element, and that's, personal preferences and things like that. I don't know if just laying out of the audio makes it that much more impactful, but if you do the bleep counter, if you do the bleeps, does that make it more impactful as you're viewing it as a viewer?
I think so. I think you needed the bleeps, or you just needed to go in and say this is going to be rated R by the time it's done, and let it fly. But I think the beeps, it gives you something, because like silencing the audio, it was like I feel like it diminished it a little bit.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So right now we are where we are with Atlanta United, and Rob Valentino is now the man in charge on the touchline, 4-2-2 in his previous incarnation as interim. So this is his second tour of that. Houston coming in around the corner, 3 matches in 7 days. Houston here at Mercedes-Benz on Saturday night. Then you travel to take on the 6'8", 260-pound power forward and Christian Benteke in a week's time from today. And then you go to City Park to take on St. Louis City SC. So it's an interesting challenge for Rob, and it's a lot of matches in a very short period of time.
Yeah, what did we say last week? Like, this is not – it's not favorable to Rob Valentino in terms of like –
So you're saying it's suboptimal is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's suboptimal for sure in terms of trying to get results. But you can't do anything but trust in the guy, right? Like you never know. I know all like what we've said all year, and we say it all the time is, this team should be doing, this team
Right.
is good enough to whatever. Well, it is. And I understand that, there are tons of players out, but I actually think, going back to the documentary, I think it was Dax that said it, or he might've said it in his podcast. I can't remember, but the players feel like that injuries can only be an excuse for so long.
Right.
So the injury conversation, 100%, like, it's been a thing for Pineda. It's been a thing for coaches. And I mean, it always is a thing. I don't think that's the defining aspect of Pineda's tenure here. You have to deal with injuries. Now, 2022 was awful. So like, we'll take that one out, but you now have, it's not injuries, but you have tons of players out. You have to trust in your depth, because they're there for a reason. And we've heard so many players at the training ground this year, questions I've asked, questions other people have asked about those young guys coming up, about the Jay Fortunes, the Noah Cobbs, like we talked about. And the veteran players, like, a lot of the advice that they always say they give to the young guys is trust the fact that you are good enough to be here. You wouldn't be here if you weren't good enough. You have to believe that you have a spot here. You can't have imposter syndrome.
Right.
So you can't go into matches like this or into windows like this and have the thoughts of, the last year, beginning of the year Columbus match where, the depth just couldn't pull it out. You got to look at the games, the tough ones, like New York City this year, where you went down on a questionable penalty and then you fought back and you pulled a draw away. You got to look at some other games where your depth has done well, and you have to believe in yourself. And Rob Valentino has to go into it, I think, just looking at this as a golden opportunity, regardless of whether he's got, DPs on the pitch or not. It's going to be hard for sure, but I do think there's something to be said, and maybe this is like the blind optimism of me. I don't know, but I think there's something to be said for the timing of everything, for, young players to really make their mark, because now all the eyes are on Atlanta United. It's not like you were mired in the whole, the team's being mediocre. Well, now, whether you like it or not, you got publicity because your coach just got fired. So now you're about to be the guy on the pitch. A bunch of you young guys are going to be the guys on the pitch. So take advantage of it. You have a new coach who believes in you, who's trying to develop relationships with you and build you up. And the president has come out and said, like, everybody's kind of on the chopping block at this point. So if you don't go out and put forth the best, games of soccer you've ever played, I don't know what to tell you. Because I think you might have something positive come out of these next 3 matches.
Absences for Atlanta United: Abram for Peru, Thiago with the U23s for Argentina as they prep for the Olympics, Noah Cobb, who should be back from his U19ness. I think they have. I think they're done with their international window.
I think so.
So Noah should be back, and it was a point that I made before you came on. We don't know with Noah and Caleb specifically. Travel plans probably back today, which means that they're not in practice today, which means it's Thursday and then a walkthrough on Friday. You don't know how many minutes you're going to get from them against Houston, probably looking for them to start against DC and those other 2 matches going forward. So probably some minutes from Noah and Caleb and, for the matchup against Houston. Jay with Trinidad and Tobago, Saba's at the Euros with Georgia, and Bart is with the Euros in Poland. And so that lends itself to an interesting week because of these absences. And I was trying to parse it through in my head, and Jarrett and I were talking it through, where it's probably in your game day over the next week and a half. You're probably going to see some combination, not necessarily starting, but maybe minutes here and there. Luke Brennan, Nick Firmino, maybe a Javier Armas, maybe a Matt Edwards, just depending on, and an Efrain Morales, who's already seen minutes with the first team. But it's an opportunity for the 2 sickos to sit there and say, yeah, I've seen him. I know what they can do in these situations. It might have to be because of schedule compression, the short-term hardship deals for a handful of dudes in addition to the Nicks and the Lukes and so on.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way you get out of that. Nor do I think you want to. I mean, it always sucks because of roster rules that you only have those 4, call-ups and they can only play twice. But
can we
the talent's there.
Good Lord. You change that rule. Just make it like the NBA, where you sign them to the 10-day deal or whatever, and you shouldn't have a limitation on these kinds of things. Let your roster be your roster. You don't sit there and go, well, you can only have hardship. Well, what if we have more than one hardship?
Right. What if y'all scheduled all the games during, international competitions? Like, what are we going to do?
You got an international window, and we're trying to cram all this stuff. And it's like 10 pounds into a 5-pound bag, and you're trying to get everything ready for Leagues Cup and the Olympics. You've created the hardship.
Yep. Y'all done it.
The rules, please. Y'all done it. We need to fix it.
Yep. I totally agree. I think it's stupid, but again, that's part of Valentino's challenge. I feel like Efrain Morales is going to get some time. I really do. I think, and he deserves it. And I want to see him back again. I thought it was interesting that he pulled out of Bolivia for personal reasons. I don't know if it was on here that we talked about it. It might have been on my show. I can't remember.
No, it was on yours.
Okay. But I don't know what the reason is. I hope first and foremost that it's nothing like serious, but it does have hopefully the added benefit that he's been here through all of the transitions.
Theon is coming back off of the hamstring injury.
Yep.
Tyler Wolff is rehabbing, so his time might be coming in close. So you might be getting folks back in this 10 pounds into a 5-pound part of the schedule. So you're still looking at all this. You're going, okay, maybe here, maybe here. Literally, this is juggling with chainsaws for Rob. Welcome back.
Yeah, I mean, and then you just have to trust in the guys that you do have, like Shonde Silva. Got to be a leader. Edwin Mosquera's got to come in and really push the time that he's going to have, because he's going to have tons of it. Nick Firmino is going to be the guy in a handful of games for sure.
Jamal and Daniel up top.
Yeah. So they're there. I mean, I just, again, I think it's an interesting opportunity from a coaching. This is the stuff that fascinates me that I could talk like for hours about, just like the coaching philosophy and how it changes between like, your prime starting 11 and then like everybody else.
Okay. So let's go down this road. So you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. What's on your mind? What's on your mind with it?
No, I mean, especially from like a blank slate, right? That Valentino has, because I think it's easy when you look at, if we were having the Pineda conversation, I think it's fairly easy to predict what the starting 11 would be, mostly. Because I think we all kind of understood after a while Pineda's tendencies and what he wanted to do and everything else. But now you've got a new guy in, even though he's part of the organization and he has been, and he's actually been the coach before. I don't think anybody really knows what kind of, I'm going to say the word, the tactics and all that kind of stuff.
You don't know how Rob is wired in these situations.
Yeah, I don't know, like, is he something simple? Like, are we lining up, is he going to focus three center backs, which is almost impossible right now unless you put out Derek, Efrain, and Noah until Steon gets back. So he said he wants to be more vertical. He wants to be a little bit more transitionary. He wants to do this and that. And I do think you're going to see a little less, I don't want to say predictability, because I know I've used that word before a lot, but I think you're going to see a lot more of just guys playing, like just going out and playing the game. I think there's going to be, especially in the beginning, less emphasis on do this here, do that there, go here, go there. When this guy goes there, do that. And I think it's just going to be know your role, zone defense kind of deal.
Yeah.
Know where you need to be roughly, and just go play football.
Yeah.
And I think, from the coaching perspective, I mean, Rob he's a firm guy. We see it on the training ground. He leads a lot of the training sessions. And when he does, he doesn't pull punches or mince words. He is very, very like involved in the training session. He will call people out for doing something stupid or not putting forth their effort, whatever. He, and I think you need that. I'm not saying Pineda didn't do that, but I'm just saying what I see from him on a weekly basis when I'm there. Like, the guy has a little bit more oomph to him. He knows the league well. And I mean, if you're a statistic person, I mean, he's won 4 games, drew 2, and lost 2. So got that going for us.
Yeah, but I mean, you could look at the schedule, and it was against the strength of schedule in a 4-2-2. Yes, you won 4 of your 8, but strength of schedule back then.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it was Cincinnati, when Cincinnati was chasing after stirring spoons in the drawers in the kitchen, and it was teams were different then than they are now. But yes, Rob is 4-2-2 in his career as interim, when he was interim 1.0 with Atlanta United. But yeah, I mean, it's when you come in, Rob is for a double negative. Rob is not an unfamiliar face. And so you know what you're getting from him in coaching situations. And so philosophically, it's not just going to be and so since I have this, I'm going to go ahead and use this guy. It's not going to be that.
I mean, it's close.
but it's going to be, look, I know what y'all can do. Just go play. I mean, it's like because we've always talked about formations being something of a loose construct, where it's like, the graphic that you see on television might be correct at opening kickoff, and then when the ball is kicked, then things can, go all over the place, and formations are kind of an overrated idea anyway. But you have to sit there and say, well, they will start in a, 4-4-2 or 4-3-3 or whatever. But it's trust in your abilities. What can you do? What can you bring to the table? I know what you can do. I know what you can bring to the table. Okay, so if your puzzle piece and your puzzle piece combined, we've got 2 puzzle pieces together, and that's 2 of the 500 that we're piecing together as we're trying to build the London Bridge. So, I mean, that's I think that, just I want to let me see what you can do. Look, if we're all on the clock here for the second half of the season, let me see what you got.
Yeah, and Rob is going to live or die this season in terms of having a head coaching job by getting the extra little bit out of each player. It's not going to be out of making wholesale changes. And again, that's the kind of philosophy kind of stuff that interests me. Like, I don't think this team isn't, I was about to say they're not a wooden spoon contender, but I mean, people would probably yell at me for that because
that's Caleb. Caleb Porter's got that one going.
Yeah. He's up there. But they're a good team. They have talent and something just wasn't clicking. So I think it's not going to be making wholesale changes. It's not going to be, switching from a 4-2-3-1 to a 3-4-3. It's not going to be anything like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be just, I think, simplifying things a little bit, but also getting that extra ounce, being more of a man manager and a man person than a coach to a degree, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah. And so then what would you anticipate, all things being equal, formationally, if we take Atlanta United as a formation, considering what we've seen, knowing that if you once the ball is kicked, you twist the dial at the back a little bit, your left back turns into a left winger, those kinds of things. You turn the dial and the formation will shift. And that's what I mean by it being a loose construct when you sit there and you look at it in 2 dimensions and it's like, oh, there's 4 at the back. No, things can twist and folks can drop and they take over things. What are you staring at here against Houston specifically? Obviously, when you come back here in a week, we're going to be talking about going to D.C. and it being more immediate and coming off of what happened with Dynamo. But what are you looking at formationally and starters-wise, just off the top of your head for this matchup at home, where you're looking for 3 points against Houston as Houston comes here on the road? They probably won't have Chico Carrasquilla as a fulcrum in the midfield. But what are you staring at with Atlanta United?
I think going back, so starting at the back, I think Brad's going to be back in goal, personally.
Well, Josh was dealing with back spasms yesterday, so he's day-to-day, aren't we all?
Yeah, no, that's right.
So what are you staring at the back?
So, yeah, Brad, and then I think because it is a home game, I think you're going to have to go you only have 3 center backs anyway. And I don't want to take a chance, right? So probably you say, hey, Noah, you're young. You got young legs. I know you're coming off travel, but you got to do it alongside Derek. And the Derek and Noah pairing, I think, is good. With an emphasis for Brooks to also be very cautious in going forward. I don't think, again, there's going to be much of a difference in terms of how you play this game. Caleb, I think he's, again, young enough that he can play. Not too worried about that. Dax in front of them. Let's see, Jay will be back, right? Or
maybe, but does that mean that you start Tristan? I mean, you got Tristan.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why I forgot about Tristan Muyamba for a minute.
Dax, Tristan, and then what do you do with
Firmino? Probably.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Edwin on the right. And man, that left is gonna be.
Is it? Well, I mean, is it? But then what? Then do you treat it like you did with Thiago, where you let that individual, where you let Thiago run, and then, like you said, your left back turns into a left winger. Thiago kind of fills that space. So does that mean that Nick fills that space? Caleb comes in from behind, and you have some combination of Daniel and Jamal and Edwin at the middle and the right.
Yeah, and I just forgot about Shande Silva as well for a minute. So I don't know why I'm tripping this morning. Again, I need another cup of coffee.
There you go.
So if you keep it traditional, I think you throw Shande in there. But yeah, I mean, I think I can't, because you're going to have to manage minutes here as well. I don't see a problem with throwing Daniel Rios on as like a pseudo left winger at times, or right winger. because you can't run Edwin for 270 minutes either. So,
No.
but no, I think this starting one, especially because it's at home, you got to get your crap straight at home. I think, Shonday on that left, Edwin on the right, probably TRA up top. I feel like Nick's going to be that number 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then, behind them, Muyumba, McCarty, Brooks, Noah, Derek, and Caleb.
Okay.
And Brad.
And from the time, how many times since the coaching change have you been up to the Children's South Care of Atlanta training ground?
None, because it was right at the end of that, the media game and everything. And then
have you recovered from that, sir?
Yeah. So then when the coaching change happened, they didn't do anything that week, except for, on Zoom. So I was on that. But then Friday I went camping, and I've been gone all weekend and I'm still recovering.
Okay. Well then, so the reason I ask about going up to the training ground was just interaction with Rob/players. So on the Zoom, what was the vibe like when you were there with that?
I mean, I think it was, I think first everybody is still kind of getting their feelings out about losing their head coach, right? And there's not going to be a single person that's going to come out and be like, I'm glad Pineda's gone. Right. That's not who he was. That's not who the players are. The players aren't going to be jerks about it. Like, I think they all understand that, like, it was time for a change.
Yeah.
Brooks kind of mentioned it in
results-based business.
I mean, it is a results-based business. Yeah. And Rob said, he texted Pineda right after it happened and, wished him the best of luck and everything else. So I think it was a little somber, but I also think there's very much a sense of we have to look forward. And one thing that really stood out to me was Brooks mentioned this run of form that they've had in the past tense. And my first thought, and again, me being the optimist, was like, we're not out of it yet. Like, we still got to go and win some games, but maybe looking too much into it. But it kind of feels like they all are looking at these next few games as the moment where they can get it right. They can get it together. So I think there's a little bit of like cautious excitement and cautious optimism just in just the fact that you have changes now. You have something different going on. You got a new, like Garth said, a new voice. You've got, somewhat of a blank slate. And you still, it's enough of a blank slate to where you could still go and make the playoffs this season. And again, from there, who knows what happens?
Yeah, I mean, you get in, and the bottom line is you're 3 points out of a playoff spot. You get into the postseason, and then it's up to you what you do from that moment forward. And you'd have to make your hay on the road, but that's that's what you put yourself into. But I think to Brooks's point, I think that if you keep it in the present tense, that means that you're still dwelling on it, and it ends up being that crow that's on your shoulder that's kind of staring at you. The vulture that's there. The Snoopy vulture is kind of just like like this. If you put it behind you and you close the door, then unless they found a way to kick a door in, then it's behind a door and it can't get to you. And so you focus on the present tense and you focus forward. So I understand where Brooks was coming there.
Yeah, I do too. I think having the time off as well helped the players a little bit. I think you kind of, I don't know. I think it would kind of suck for it to happen and you're not there. And then all of a sudden this guy that, whether you liked him or not, I mean, you were part of the same family essentially for a couple of years. And then you left on one day and then you came back and he's fired. So that part kind of sucks, but also I think it gives you a little bit of a break. Yeah. And you can say, all right, well, like, I'm going to send my condolences. I'm going to do what I got to do, but like, we have a season to go win. And now let's go,
All right. So what's going on at Scarves and Spikes that folks need to know about?
We're having 2 live shows next week. Well, let me rephrase that. Starting next week, we're having one for the opening match of Copa America at the Signia Hotel.
Well, hello. All right.
Yeah. So we'll have that there at the Signia next to the Benz, and then the week after that for the U.S. Ecuador. My mind totally just went blank. Panama. Having one for that one as well.
Argentina, Canada, where you can yell at Jesse Marsh.
Yep, yell at Jesse Marsh and cheer on Lionel Messi in a different kit, maybe playing in the bins finally.
Yeah.
No, so we're having those.
In the midweek scheduling, we'll get into that.
Yeah, that's a totally different thing. So yeah, so we'll have those live shows. We finally, thank you everybody, hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm trying to make sure we haven't fluctuated now.
Yeah. So make sure that there weren't any BOTs that got you over 1,000 and brought you back. Kind of like when Dave Hampton was a 1,000-yard rusher for the Atlanta Falcons, and he did it up in Green Bay, and then the next carry he gets a 3-yard loss, and he's got to fight for it all over again.
All over again. Yep, exactly. Well, we're at 1,000 dead even right now. So anybody that's in the chat, like, listen to this, go get me above 1,000. Give me a buffer.
There you go.
So no, but no, I really appreciate all that. Of course, the website, we got, some articles. Henry, Sydney, they've been putting some stuff up. Jackson's working on a designated player article that'll be really good. And tonight for the show at 7, we'll have Tony Husband on with us chatting. So
okay, yeah, because it's Tony and Ross this weekend, right?
Yep.
Okay, so Tony and Ross, and you can discuss the Nashville situation with Tony.
Yes, indeed. And look, I've got receipts out there. Ask Jason. I called the first head coach to get fired this year was going to be Nashville. Didn't think it was going to be Pineda next, but I got Nashville right.
That's just how things go sometimes, Tyler. You get things right. You got to figure it out.
Very wrong.
Get to figure it out. Got things a little wrong. Didn't quite put the ball in the back of the net. Going to go looking for work.
I love it.
You think you can drop a Gary Smith impression in there for Ross tonight and see what he thinks?
Yeah, I can make some
for
soccer
Tony,
John Madden impressions.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be good. So enjoy your coffee and enjoy your morning and have a great show tonight as always. And don't pull a Dave Hampton because of bots. All right.
I will try not to.
All right. That's Tyler. And
Thanks,
good to see you, my friend. All right. So Tyler, and he's going to I forgot to ask him about the move, but it looks like how things are with he's shaking his head in the green room. He's done. It's like that move. That's got to be great. Yay. It's got to be fantastic. Yes, I see. Yeah. And he's in the green room and he's poking at everything. So, I mean, it's fun. It's always great to chop it up with Tyler on Wednesdays, and be sure that if you have not subscribed to our friends at Scarves in Spikes on the Twitters, please do so. Scarves and Spikes on all the other interwebs and on the YouTubes and all those kinds of things. And you can be a part of their conversations and see how much longer Tommy is satisfied with the lack of facial hair, and see if there's a bet where he can try to either continue to grow it or have to shave it again. So once again, our buddies at Scarves and Spikes, they're going to be at the Signia for Copa America. So Argentina, Canada, probably going to be a long day for the red and white. And then a week later for USA Panama on the 27th. And so that'll be at MBS, and that'll be it'll be fun to see the world come here for the Copa, and then figure out what to do and how long it's going to take them to get the grass up and back on the turf, because Toronto comes to town on the 29th. So Thursday, it's grass for the Copa. Then Saturday, it's Atlanta United and Toronto. But, yeah, this is going to be a very interesting and intriguing couple of weeks, with Houston on the 15th, at D.C. on the 19th, at St. Louis on the 22nd. And then you get the week to get ready for Toronto, and that gets you through June. And then in July, the 3rd, you're at New England. You're staying on the road to go to RSL on the 6th. And then it's Open Cup on the 9th. Then you're at CF Montreal on the 13th. Then it's NYC on the 17th, Columbus on the 20th, and then Leagues Cup starts on the 26th. That's your June and your July. And it's going to be it's that's why I've got 4 calendars. That's why I literally have 4 calendars to figure out where I'm going to be and when I need to be there. Legitimately, just to make sure that we are all in one place and trying to figure out where we can be and what we need to do and what we need to be. All right. So it is the beginning of the 10 o'clock hour. So this is where we get to say hi to everybody. Morning, Abby. Oh, by the way, this World Cup, this is from our friends at Peace Collective. And it is rare that I drop as much on a T-shirt as as I do, but our friends at Peace Collective do quality work, and they've done a lot of stuff with World Cups past. And so it's thick T-shirt, really nice. And so, yeah, this is where I got it. Peace Collective. Yes, I did wait until it was on special. I did not pay full price. So morning, Abby. Morning, Emilio. Mateo, 0 shots on target. Not much else matters, to be honest, talking about the U23s. And Wiley subbed at half. Yes, the fact that it took us as long as it did. Oh, my gosh. Morning, Mateo. Morning, Emilio. Morning, Kefsi. Let's see who else is in this morning. Morning, Alex. Morning, Hutch. And the fact that you guys are having long conversations, it's very, very cool. So I'm trying to see who else is here on the board. Derek, morning. Yes. So Jarrett dropping in this morning. Jarrett, we had Tyler on and we tried to chew up as much Atlanta United as we could, looking at starting 11s, looking at the Rob Valentino administration. And once again, just trying to see if Noah and Caleb drop back, then what does it look like for them and how many minutes and all this kind of stuff. So the combinations and permutations, we kind of went through a little bit of math in the first hour of the show.
That's safe. Math. This is no, thank you. Yeah, man. It's, we talked about it a bit yesterday, in that it depends on how everybody's feeling coming back. Not sure how the youth players are feeling after getting mollywopped by Japan like that.
Yeah.
Again, that seems more like a you guys problem than anything else.
Well, then let me ask you this: did that seem like it was inside the handball from Brian Reynolds? Was that inside the 18 for you, without any VAR obviously being used or anything?
I don't know. I'm also jaded on VAR right now as it is. So, but yeah, you don't want to lose. You certainly don't want to lose that game like that.
No.
In the lead up to the Olympics.
Yes.
And again, that's coming later, and we've got the Euros before that, and Copa.
Yeah, we got Copa.
We got a lot of really dumb things, man.
Yeah, so we'll talk to Dylan about all these dumb things, as Dylan is now joining us here to start off hour number 2. Dylan, we're talking dumb things this morning.
You've got the perfect person to do it then. Let's go.
We were discussing the U23s losing to Japan, schedule compression, everything between now and Leagues Cup, teams being challenged, teams playing in an international window Saturday. 8 teams did that this past week. Where, sir, would you like to start?
I had a rare Saturday off, so I didn't see those matches. I was coming back from Annapolis, a family wedding. Did not get to see the Blues. They did play, though, but considering the fact I went down for a family wedding, of which my daughter was a flower girl, which was also Saturday night, I think I made the better choice of missing the Annapolis Blues match. But beautiful city, beautiful town. Not so beautiful the traffic coming back or going down from New York City, but it was a fun time had by all. So
Well, and I mean the idea of what Michael Hitchcock has done with Annapolis and the Blues. You're getting 11,000 folks at the stadium there for NPSL games. So obviously, what he's doing is doing really well. But let me ask you this: the idea of the option of having MLS teams. Yeah, you can play in an international window, or you don't. What about that as just a general construct? What's your thought on it?
I mean, look, I'd I would much prefer, kind of what we see elsewhere, right? Where if there's an international break, it is an international break, right? But I also get, MLS is different in a lot of ways, right? So, unfortunately, you've got to, it doesn't stop. I mean, other than obviously Leagues Cup, the league largely doesn't stop. And also, you'd be dealing with, potentially a logjam of games, playing deeper into December. Like, there's a lot of other issues I think that come with it. I don't think MLS. I don't think a league in North America, let's say that, is really able to take every international break off, play 34 games, play multiple competitions, and still end in a reasonable time frame, right? So
Yeah.
I think
Jarrett,
there's a lot of different issues here that you don't get in Europe.
you ain't kidding, brother. Jarrett, your first thoughts for Dylan Butler on a Wall Pass Wednesday?
Yeah, I guess we got two of the actions that we kind of suspected with the international window, with coaching changes here in Atlanta and in Dallas the other day, which was, I don't know, man. It felt kind of weird. Just like I figured if Dallas was going to make the move, they'd have made it earlier in the international window, but then they didn't. I guess your thoughts on both of those?
Yeah, so I was actually on my return to work was Sunday. I did the Canada match, stuck on in case Messi did Messi things, right? So I was watching a little Argentina, Ecuador, right? And then email box, like, okay, here we go. A lot of work still left to be done here. Can't say you're surprised at the move. I am a little, I don't know if surprised is the right word, but like, for lack of a better word, I am a little bit surprised that Dan Hunt is so bullish on his roster, right? Like saying, we're way better than, like, there are also injuries. Like, I don't think Nico Estevez went around that locker room like with a hammer and just started like hitting knees, and that's not his fault that guys are injured. I think maybe his lack of, or his inability to be as fluid maybe with the players that he has and formations and stuff, perhaps resulting in his departure. But I don't, like, look, this is a team that's had injuries, have been injured, and also key guys have underperformed tremendously, right, this year. So it is interesting. Again, it's when you hear these press conferences like they had yesterday, the Hunt saying, and I think it was Hunt saying it, that they need to dig back into the academy and the youth setup better than had happened under Estevez. Bit surprising there as well. But yeah, look, I don't think I didn't have, I think, Dallas near the top of the West, even when they were fully healthy this year. So
Yeah.
Not surprised. And apparently it's another good guy gone, right? So again, the lesson is learned: do not be a good guy in managing soccer teams. So
Yeah, you can say the same thing about Gonzalo Pineda here in Atlanta. It's now
Yeah.
Rob Valentino who's taken over.
Yeah.
We look at San Jose, and I know that we've got the black helicopters out, and we kind of had the black helicopters out yesterday with Luchi Gonzalez and Jarrett San Jose Earthquakes, where maybe if the baseball team that John Fisher owns is going to be playing in Sacramento, he gets to keep an eye on Mark Briggs with Sacramento Republic, and he could bring him in to be the new head coach for San Jose. And does Peter Vermes have the Judge Smales conversation with himself, or the Spider-Man pointing in the mirror conversation, with what happened with Seattle? I mean, you still have questions in the league as to, who could be next on the list. Did Peter Vermes jump Luchi Gonzalez just because of economics?
Yeah, possibly, but it's very interesting, right? With Vermes, one of the few guys left to hold the two titles. Would he, like you said, would it be like, it's like after training, hey Peter, I need to see you in the office here, and
Yeah,
he closes the door and then he walks out, and walks back in his office just as a sporting director, not as a head coach. I don't know.
It comes back in the back door, sits behind the desk like Joe Trail's having the conversation with Danny Noonan and Caddyshack.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He's got his back turned to him. Peter.
Look, it's not good enough, right? And for him, I think it was not this past week, but the previous week, to go through. I think when they won, right? To go through this, like, we haven't had good calls in games for the past 10 games. Like, I don't think it's, for half of the season, it's officiating. Like, you could maybe point to a situation here or there in one game or two, or, and listen, obviously refereeing calls to change games, right? But so does bad teams, so do bad players. So
there you go, logic again.
Yeah, I think there, and there's more of them than there are referees in the field. So, I feel like Sporting would have made a major change if not for that crazy run last year. But so the question was then, which Sporting was, what's the real Sporting, right? Yes. And I think we're learning it was that team that started this season, 10 games without a win last year, that is the actual Sporting that we're seeing. So,
Jared, Dylan opened a couple of doors. Which one do you want to walk through?
Because you already touched on it, is that, which is the real Sporting, and, how does Sporting fix this with Peter Vermes, not just as the coach, but in charge of everything? There's not really, somebody above him to say, Peter, it's time. It's kind of, Peter, you need to tell Peter that it's time. Like, yeah. How do you fix this without blowing everything up?
And he doesn't strike me as, and I've had conversations with him. I like Peter Vermes. I love his antics on the sideline, very meme worthy, right?
Yes.
But I don't know if he's, I don't know, again, what the right word is, maybe humble enough to accept, hey, mea culpa, we need a change. Like, I feel like that ego is maybe a little bit too big, and it's hurting this team, right? This club.
You mentioned Peter complaining about calls. And so I'll go ahead and I'll start walking through this door. When it comes to VAR, and we were fortunate enough to actually have a bit of a back and forth with our friends at Pro over what was and was not included in inside the VAR studio from this past week, involving goal, not a goal, goes to VAR, re-refereed, all these kinds of things. And you end up with an error that apparently was clear and obvious, that I don't know how it was. When it comes to the state of officiating right now in Major League Soccer, and I know this is a 30,000-foot question, how would you view what we are seeing right now when it comes to officiating in Major League Soccer, VAR and its place in it, and where VAR needs to keep its nose out of things, period?
That's a tough one.
Like I said, it's a 30,000-foot question. So, I mean,
yeah.
And the reason I ask is because of the event that happened in the Atlanta match, for the second match in a row. In the LAFC match, where we got into the discussion about Mateus Bogusz getting a short-term header and the ball rockets away, and center ref Sergi Boyko sits there and he's called the VAR. VAR thinks that it's a dog so red. Brad gets a red. Tanner changes against LAFC. Next match, then it's Charlotte, and it is goal, not a goal. Looks like Josh Cohen is there behind the goal. You can't really tell if the entire soccer ball goes over the goal line or not. Then it goes to VAR. VAR says, yes, it was a goal, and it had to have been a clear and obvious error. And I'd love to know if they had an angle that we didn't, but they don't. And apparently, according to VAR, You have Pro rebuking the VAR in this case. And right now, this is where we are at times, I think, with Pro and VAR, where they're focused on re-refereeing at times instead of just looking for clear and obvious errors, and they want to re-referee things now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I still think here in North America, I think VAR is utilized better than it is anywhere else.
You ain't kidding, because England is having a bunch of furors, man.
Yeah. But that said, there's still it's still, I mean, not infancy, right? But it's still in its
nascent stages.
Yeah, right. Like there's still a lot to learn from it, and that's what you just mentioned. That's a big part of it. And it's hard to not re-referee it, like because you have the ability to look at a video monitor, right, and see it all there. So and it's funny because that's and you and I are big hockey fans, right? We're big Stanley Cup playoff fans.
Absolutely.
That's what they're doing in the NHL, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're seeing it, and they have a mechanism in the NHL for those who are unaware. Like you can call something a major, and that allows you to review it. So say like I think it was the other night, Leon Draisaitl just sort of like
the Barkov hit,
threw himself into Barkov, right? Launched himself into Barkov's face.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe the initial call was a major, which allowed them to review it. If they didn't call it a major, they can't review it, right? So it's kind of like almost saying an MLS official would be like, all right, well, that's a red, but that means that we can now look at it.
Yeah.
And they decided, no, it was not a major, it was a minor. I don't know if that's a better situation, right? Like, because you're just going to have people freaking out at every, like a trip, all of a sudden you're like, that's a red, hang on, now we can review it. Because we can't review yellow cards, right? Or just regular fouls. So, it's still a very new process. And I think, more education needs to continue through it for these officials. But again, this is the best version of this technology that we see around the world.
Yeah. Jarrett, go for it with Dylan.
I actually want to ask you about one of the teams up near you, because for a while we thought Nick Cushing would be one of those guys on the hot seat.
Yes.
One of the first ones to go this season. That ain't the case, man. What's gotten into NYC to be kind of turning things around, of at least stabilizing things, man?
So I will use this analogy, right? So I went down to Annapolis and I got some I at some point in this journey, I need to get a crab cake, right? Like I got some recommendations on where to go. I had it. It was awesome. I love the flavors. I didn't know what was in there. Like, I didn't know what the special sauce was there, right? But I'm sure there was something different to make each of these, establishments down there who everyone's serving crab cake, right? Like, you want yours to be a little bit different. To this point, there is actually no special sauce here to what NYCFC is doing. It's literally just sort of, I guess, to use a food analogy, just letting it marinate a little bit, right?
So it's a Sabrett's on the sidewalk.
Yeah, dirty water though, I guess.
Okay.
It's just letting it marinate and like letting the youngest team in MLS play together, right? And get some time. And I would love to credit Maxi Morales' return as that key Zen moment, but it wasn't, right? Because that came at the end of a blowout against San Jose, where they were already winning significantly before that. So, it's boring to say it, right? Like, I'd love to say, I mean, it was a little bit of a tactical tweak, but for the most part, it's just let the kids play, right? Let them make mistakes, let them get on the field together, and they'll work things out. So I think I think honestly that's what's been the driving force behind their turnaround.
MLS Soccer's Dylan Butler joining us for Wednesdays with Dylan here in the midweek, where we talk about pretty much anything and everything. Okay, so now that we're all hungry, where's the best sidewalk dog near your house?
I don't, not like I'm in the burbs, so I don't have them by my house. Although like I do, when I go into the city, that's certainly something like that. And like I'll either go that or I'll go like hot pretzel, like the hot sidewalk pretzel, throw some mustard on there. That's good eats right there.
Okay, so do you scrape the salt off, or do you just keep the salt on?
No, well, it depends, right? Like I do like salt on my pretzel, but like some of these are like dangerous levels of salt. So.
Yeah, OD, man.
There's a limit, man.
And I think sometimes they put so much salt on it that like even just walking around with it, like it just falls off anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally for me, if I see that there's a lot of salt on it before I put the mustard on or dip it, I literally will just sit there and I'll brush the salt off, and it'll end up, going on the sidewalk, and the pigeons will sit there and go, look, oh, food, and then they'll be eating all the salt pellets.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want somewhere between, I need to have some salt on it to not just covered and all you see is white. So somewhere in between that, I think is my preference, but a nice golden brown mustard for me for both of those. A little sauerkraut as well for the dog.
I'm not a sauerkraut guy. I mean, legitimately, I can drown it in mustard. Just like if the dog is if the dog is worth it, I can just go with basic condiments and enjoy the dog for being the dog. I don't need to have extra dressing and all this kind of stuff on it. And this is why Jarrett disowns me in segments like this.
Yeah.
Well, only sometimes. We'll talk about this later about your opinions on Reubens. Then on a good Reuben.
Oh, I love Reubens. Give me a good Reuben. You can drown. No. You can drown the Reuben in the Thousand Island. I'm good.
By the way, shout out to Chicken Ruth's. That's where I went for my crab cake.
Okay.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. Yeah, Alex, least surprising revelation of the day involving me and the hot dogs and kraut. Yeah. Yeah. John is not a sauerkraut guy. Color me shocked. Exactly.
But I will say, like, I don't go, like, I'll get the sauerkraut on a New York City sidewalk, right? But like, I don't go through the whole process at home. Like I then switch that to relish.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm more the relish mustard guy at home.
Okay. You're not going to a Wawa and grabbing sauerkraut and taking it home. It's on the, on the sidewalk. It's acceptable, but going into the store to grab the sauerkraut to take it home.
I'm not going to go through the whole effort of whatever it is. It's probably just heating it up, but
yes. Yeah, no relish. We got folks that are no relish folks. All right, so then let me ask you this: since we're now officially at, if you want to call it the halfway point of the season, we'll call it the halfway point of the season. Who and you have to, if you're going to put a team in, you're going to have to take a team out. You can't just sit there and have like 11 teams making the playoffs. In the East and the West, is there anybody on the outside looking in that you think will make it, and anyone who's on the inside that will be bumped out by the time we're done? And this is going in the time capsule.
Yeah, let me look. I'm going to pop up my standings right now. In the East, I will say Atlanta gets in.
Okay.
And I think Nashville is out.
Okay.
I almost want to make a case for Montreal, but that would mean then Philly would be out. I think the top 7 as it is right now, I think they get through.
Okay.
So I think it's a battle for 2 spots there, but I'd be hard pressed to think you don't see Philly in the postseason.
And Carranza looks like he's heading to Feyenoord.
Yeah, no. I think we said it too. You can tell when they re-upped him, or I'm sorry, when they said there was a year left on his deal, they were not going to re-up him. Like, you knew that he'd be sold. So
And so,
In the West,
Zombie Sounders, did they make a run? All Caps, did they make a run?
again, like it's another team that it's hard for me to not see them in the postseason. But at whose expense, right? Maybe at Portland's expense. Then I'd like to see Colorado in the postseason. They've got to figure out their defending / goalkeeping. But I don't see like the bottom three, San Jose, Dallas, KC. I don't see them making a run. And St. Louis, it's hard when you only get 1 point per game to make that push up that you need. So even like they just draw like every match they play. So I would say for the time capsule, I would say, again, it's boring because it's just flipping spots, but I would say Seattle for Portland.
Okay. Cascadia rivalry. Jarrett with Dylan for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask you about Colorado because you mentioned them. Just your overall thoughts on this first year, because it feels like they haven't had a plan for so long, and now they seem to have a plan. Even if it doesn't work all this year, just your thoughts on their first year under the Chris Armas experiment trademark.
Yeah, I would say, look, I would applaud them for spending money first and foremost.
Is it one of these? Is it one of these applauds?
No.
About blanking time, Kroenke family?
No. They decided like what they were doing wasn't good enough. Let's splash some cash, and they did a lot of that in the summer. I loved bringing Georgie back. I think that was a great move. I think he's been very good. You bring in an Omir Fernandez. Cole Bassett, like solid moves across the board. I think the thing that's holding them back, it's that I can't say a lot of us probably saw this, but like what happened to Zach Steffen, right? Like this was a guy, it feels like not too long ago, who was like the number one choice for the U.S. national team, right? Goalkeeper. And suddenly he's just lost it. Like, it's funny. Matt Doyle wrote in his Sunday 1,000, 2,000 plus word, whatever it is at this point. I have to edit that at point, so it does take some time. But said he wondered if England broke Zach Steffen, right?
Did Middlesbrough break Zach Steffen?
Yeah, which then would beg the question: would the same then happen to poor Aiden Morris? Because it would appear that he's heading that way as well.
Jarrett, will Middlesbrough break another player?
The thing with goalkeepers is always reps, man. Like if you're not, I think it's the same concern we had with Turner leaving New England. Is like, are you going to be getting reps over there? Because I need you getting reps. Like your mileage may vary on doing the Gio Reyna thing of he's not playing because God only knows why his agent and parents send him to where they send him. Your mileage may vary trying that whole don't worry about playing at the on the club model, just play on the national team model. Goalkeepers seems like it's more of that you need to get reps, man. And yeah, I don't know, maybe they broke him. Like Zach Steffen wasn't always great with his feet, but he was a brick wall, and now he's just neither of those things.
His feet are bricks, and he's not a brick wall.
Yes.
That's just, man. And Aiden Morris leaving for $4 million, heading back to Crew. Crew is having an egress in their front office, man.
Yeah.
Bezbachenko's now the new head of Black Knight Holdings, which gives him the keys to Bournemouth et al. And now the number 2 left as well. And so now Issa Tall is the GM for Columbus, and Aiden Morris is out the door. And I think that Aiden might be in for a bit of a rude awakening with some of his soccer on-the-field patterns heading into the EFL championship and the physical nature there, where I don't know if if it's a knife fight in a phone booth, but it's pretty close. And I don't know if some of what Aiden Morris does in Major League Soccer will fly in the EFL Championship.
Yeah, I mean, I guess time will tell. I'm sure we all hope that he succeeds.
Absolutely,
it's good for MLS. It's good for the national team as well. It's difficult, right? Because it feels like guys are thinking ahead at the 2026 World Cup and where they can get a spot, and this feeling that they've got to play in Europe to get a better look. So you're just kind of trying to find spots, right? Where are we going to go? Where we're going to Europe. So I do hope that Burrow does not break Aiden Morris.
Does Newcastle make any moves to help get under PSR by the end of the month?
Probably. Unfortunately, that's a whole nother. We don't have another half hour to.
Miguel Almiron's immediate future.
Yeah, unfortunately, my Miggy Newcastle jersey will be retired for good now. So
it sounds like it might be the Saudi League, might be some other places that might be interested in Miggy and or Alexander Isak, so they can get under profit and sustainability rules, because they were 2/3 of the way there after one season, and they got some work to do in trying to get under the bar so they don't get a points deduction. What else is going on with you at MLSsoccer.com? What's on duty this week?
We got Friday night, Columbus NYCFC, the Sands derby, as it is, right?
Yeah.
Will and James battling it out under the lights Friday night. And then the full slate of Saturday, right? Let's get back after it. So
what's the match that you're looking most forward to on the weekend?
That's a good question. Let me take a quick look. I don't think it's a great slate of games.
It's an slate. It's.
I mean, maybe Friday night might be the best of them all. To be honest, like NYCFC Columbus might be the best of them all. Benteke out, right, for DC, so takes a little bit of the shine off that Charlotte DC match. Although that's probably destined for 0-0 or 1-0.
Take the under.
Yeah. Looking through Philly, Miami, some of that shine is off as well, obviously.
Take the under.
Yeah, not spectacular. Maybe a little Seattle, Minnesota, I guess, right? Yeah, I don't know.
See, so it might be Friday night. It's the most exciting one.
I think it is
of the whole run.
You hate to debut with your best game, but I think that's where we're at.
Okay, and I think this one's at Yankee Stadium.
Yes,
I think it is this time. Yankees might be out of town, so they'll be at Yankee Stadium. MLSsoccer.com. Dylan, as always, it's great to have you on when you can come in as the busiest man in the Northeast and drop by on your Wednesdays. What's the mug and what's in the mug?
Dad and coffee.
There we go. Okay, so Dad and coffee with the daily required allowance of Dad and what it takes. As always, my friend, it's great to see you, and we will catch up with you hopefully again next week, and we'll continue to have fun through the international window and schedule compression and everything that fits in. Be safe, my friend.
All right, boys.
All right, that's Dylan. And that's Dylan, and so Dylan's going to enjoy the rest of his day. Abby, save that one for next time, asking if he likes Yankee Stadium or Citi Field. Probably Citi Field because it's closer to his home, or it's closer to everything there in Queens. And so,
I mean, it's got to be nice for Yankees fans right now because Yankees are actually cooking.
Where the Braves are not, at least, but the Braves don't play at the Battery. So
we're getting to the point now when I discuss sports of, wow, this formerly offensive powerhouse cannot produce offensively, and it's starting to get annoying. I have to clarify if I'm talking about Atlanta United or the Braves. Because since the end of April, the Braves have the fewest runs in baseball and were shut out last night. That includes, by the way, leading off the game with a triple and not scoring.
Oof. I mean,
Braves baseball in 2024.
Yeah.
It's very weird though, because I think they still lead the league in hard hit percentage and exit velocity.
Wow.
They're just not scoring runs.
Which is kind of counterintuitive.
It was funny last night. Sean Murphy hit a ball to left field, and Camden Yards moved back the left field fence for some sick, depraved reason. He hit a ball that would have been a home run in 29 other ballparks, but that was the only park it would not have left. So that's what the Braves are doing on a daily basis now. Yay. Get me to football season, I'm begging you.
Wow. I mean,
get me to the NBA draft. I want some weird stuff going down. Get me there first, and then we'll get to football season, and get me to NCAA 25 releasing next month, so I can start my Kennesaw State dynasty.
Yes. So you can have that to play with, and just make sure that you schedule Kennesaw State in North Dakota at North Dakota. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, we're making annual trips to the KB Dome too.
That's tremendous. All right, so we got a half hour to go, and we've got some coaching carousel stuff to get into overseas. After all of the hand-wringing and everything, and there will be a 3D posted later this morning, Erik ten Hag is staying at Manchester United. I did not have that on the bingo card.
I don't know. It'd have been much funnier if he had won that trophy, and then after all this is just like, no, screw you guys. I'm taking my trophy and I'm going somewhere else.
I'm going home.
The man just been mistreated as all hell.
Yeah.
And look, Erik ten Hag having issues getting that Manchester United club to consistently win, is a different conversation. Because if the conversation is, well, it hasn't worked, so that's why they're treating him the way they have. No, you can still treat the guy with some respect, and treat him like a professional and not like an interim.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, if I was Erik ten Hag, I would have done this.
Good day.
Literally, that's it. I win the trophy. I'm out the door. Y'all have been going from one end to the other, and it's like, is he in? Is he out? I'm tired of all of this ish. I'm out the door, and I'm going home.
And so that's the thing. That's the thing as well. To Abby's point, it's like a lot of the fans want him out, and y'all just bringing him back. It just feels like you're setting him up for failure. But maybe you felt like you didn't have any better options. But if that's the case, you shouldn't have created this messy situation in the first place.
You shouldn't have ished on him.
Don't be so messy. Don't be so sloppy.
I mean, come on. I mean, this isn't hard, and then you make it more difficult with your actions. It's like, why would I want to? Why would I want to stay? Why would I want to come back? I see no rationale here in wanting to come back as a part of this. But apparently he's going to. And oh man, I'm just Now, was it Ineos had their review, and it's like, okay, according to our friends at the Times, here's how they laid it out. Jadon Sancho's future looks bleak. Rashford could leave. And what is it we always say when there's more than one writer to an article? Then there's a lot of stuff going on that's not good for you if you have more than one writer on a byline. Yeah. I mean, it appears that the search by Ineos was kind of all over the place, and they weren't really locking things down. Apparently, they're going to ask for Jadon Sancho to be sold. Fell out with Sancho in September, loaned him to Borussia Dortmund after Sancho branded ten Hag as a liar over his claim he was dropped for the Arsenal game because he trained poorly. Wants the club to hand Benny McCarthy, who's been working with the strikers, a contract extension. Joined in 22, contract expired. Marcus Rashford's future is there. United insisted 2.5 weeks was not an unreasonable length of time to conduct a postseason review, but from the outside, according to the Times, the process has at times looked ponderous and without direction. Tuchel, Pochettino, McKenna, De Zerbi, and Frank. They all held talks with United either directly or through intermediaries.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like a you problem.
Yeah. And like I said, this is just, you're like, Yeah, you're just kind of staring at this and you're going, man, I don't know. And now it's like you go through all of these dudes and you have all of this stuff, and then you're like, yeah, we'll just settle on the guy. And now it's after all of the dancing around. Garrett Southgate, who said that he is probably going, that if he doesn't make it, or if he doesn't make it out of group, definitely, and if he doesn't win the Euro, he might not be back as England's coach. Southgate is admired by Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford, but he didn't want to speak to United before the Euros are over, but he'll be on the market when his contract expires at the end of the year. No real surprise. Tuchel wanted to sign Antonio Rudiger out of United's price range. Apparently, they only have about $35 million to spend this summer. Manchester United's front office thinks that he's too old at 31, and Rudiger would rather stay at Real than play Europa League football at Old Trafford. Pochettino never really felt United wanted him. Brentford said they never had any contact from United regarding Frank. That doesn't mean that Thomas Frank or his representatives didn't have any conversations. Just because Brentford said they never had any contact doesn't mean agents weren't kicking the tires. Doubts about whether United were willing to pay the multi-million-pound release clauses in Frank's contract and the one that Kieran McKenna had at Ipswich. One man on the short list was astounded by the low wage that he would receive if he took the United job, and another was left unimpressed by the transfer budget, which the club hoped to boost by selling Sancho, Mason Greenwood, among others. The candidates, according to the Times, were so out of the loop that their reps would contact third parties to ask if they'd heard any updates. The process looked a bit haphazard, and in the end, United decided to stick with Ten Hag. Understood Brailsford was the man who was most keen to keep him. The club cited several reasons why they decided against the sacking. Had to deal with a huge amount of injuries last season. FA Cup win was a good reason to keep him, although if that was the case, according to the Times, why did Ratcliffe not name him in the statement he released after the final, which he said he was, quote, very proud of the players and staff who worked tirelessly to support them. And then the fact that he's helped develop Kobe Mainoo and Garnacho at the age of 19. Ratcliffe knows it's a club that prides itself on academy success. And so Ratcliffe knows about the standards. And so by the end of the day, we have circled back to where we were. And it is the man in charge is still the man in charge.
Yeah, it's bad. That's all you need about it. It's just sloppy for Manchester United. Yeah, I mean that's it's one of those. I don't think you have to over explain it or come out with anything crazy or grand. It's sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's sloppy for Manchester United, and it doesn't have to be this, well, here's the thing they did, here's the thing they didn't do. No, it's sloppy and dumb, and they just continue to be that way, and I don't know why they choose to do that. So whatever. I don't know, man.
We mentioned Julian Carranza heading to Feyenoord. Obviously, since it's a Wall Pass Wednesday, we can go ahead and mention the note on Jerry West, who has passed away. So the logo from the NBA has passed away. 86, I believe, Jerry West was. And so commissioners and folks have come out with statements. Lakers have come out with a statement. NBA's come out with a statement. But the logo has passed away, apparently, peacefully with his family and his wife by his side at the age of 86. A true statesman of the NBA in Jerry West.
Yeah. Again, he's the logo. I mean, he is known. It's one of those things where I think he's known as that, especially younger generations. But like, yeah, man, the man freaking play.
Yes.
It's this weird thing where I think the old, like when we get used to players existing in one aspect and then we don't always remember all of the wild things they did. For instance, we do the thing where it's like it's fun to talk about, like it's fun to make fun of like Shaquille O'Neal and when inside the NBA team, because they're funny, they're entertaining. Doesn't take away from the fact that we're gonna play the kids these days card.
Yep.
Y'all, kids these days don't understand what like late 90s Shaq was. Jerry West was more than just a logo, and then did his work with the club as well. That sucks. Anytime you see a legend go, it's not fun.
No. So there's that this morning on a Wall Pass Wednesday. It looks like Nottingham Forest have to raise about $20 million in transfer sales to comply with PSR. And we always talk about owners and how mad they are, and apparently folks are really mad at the Premier League. Villa's billionaire owner, feel like Scott Hall, billionaire Ted. Where's billionaire Ted? Villa's billionaire owner is yelling at the Premier League spending rules amid Manchester City's legal case. Nassef Sawiris revealed his concerns with wider PSR curbs. The Abu Dhabi-based owner for Aston Villa said he's taking legal advice over the Premier League spending rules in an outburst coinciding with the arbitration action with Manchester City. 2 days after City's hearing began, remember that began this week, over associated party transaction rules, the owner of Villa went public with his concerns, quote, "The rules do not make sense and are not good for football." He is Egypt's richest man, by the way. In an interview with the Financial Times, adding that the rules are anti-competitive. The Telegraph reported suggestions last week that Sawiris shared some of the city's concerns, having last December announced a long-term commitment to the UAE capital. At least one rival club, said sources not to be Villa, is said to fully support the action being brought by City at the 2-week hearing ahead of the champion's separate case of the 115 charges. Sawiris told Financial Times some of the rules have actually resulted in cementing the status quo more than creating upward mobility and fluidity in the sport. Managing a sports team has become more like being a treasurer or a bean counter rather than looking at what your team needs. It's more about creating paper profits, not real profits. It becomes a financial game, not a sporting game. Not a game. Villa sided with City in at least 2 votes this year at Premier League meetings last week. At the league's AGM, the club was defeated in a proposal supported by just one other club to increase allowable losses in the final 3-year cycle. Outcome of the current City case has consequences for everybody else, and it's a bit of a trickle down. Villa, they've been Sawiris and Wesley Edens have been in charge of Villa since 2019, and they also have a multi-club regime. Vitoria SC in Portugal, partnerships with Spain, Egypt, and Japan clubs. Sawiris told the Financial Times that opaque and seemingly arbitrary, in quotation marks, PSR rules are more about creating paper profits, not real profits. And he's going to have a wave of global investors set up shop in the Emirates that own City. So Leicester City have also threatened legal action about the possible PSR breach. The Sports Business Journal, Jarrett, was talking about the updates on the bids in the NWSL. And I thought it was really interesting to see who's in, who's out, and who might be in or out when it comes to this new round of expansion with the NWSL. And obviously, the Atlanta place in it when it comes to where we are with the expansion bid. Alex Silverman went and did a deep dive yesterday. And let me go with the stuff at the top first, and then we can go and kind of work our way through it. What you needed to do, the 16th franchise, last Friday was the preliminary bid deadline for the NWSL. The league is working with Inner Circle Sports to award the franchise by the 4th quarter of this year. So that's like 3 months away. New team would join in 26 alongside the previously awarded Boston franchise. So who's in? Cincinnati, Cleveland, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and that's the group that's tied to Minnesota Aurora. Maybes, Atlanta, Denver, Jacksonville, and Nashville, and St. Louis is out. St. Louis is not in on this one. Carolyn Kendall, the controlling owner, said at the Sports Business Journal Access Drive conference that they were interested in bringing a women's team to City Park on Friday. Club spokesperson said that while the team continues to eye their possibilities, they're currently focused on serving current teams. So St. Louis is out. We know Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Minneapolis, St. Paul are in. Maybes, Atlanta, Denver, Jacksonville, and Nashville, Jarrett. That's where we are.
Yeah, man, I want to see how this expands out. I think there's possibility for all of it, but NWSL is kind of in a weird growth place. Let's see.
Mhm.
Let's see how it expands. Let's see how it grows. I'm kind of like let's don't rush things too much.
Right.
So we'll see.
Well, and I mean, we've talked about the Atlanta bid. Arthur Blank has volunteered on the air with Mike and Jason. He has volunteered on national television that he wants to have a women's pro franchise as a part of the AMBSE footprint. Came out with a statement. AMBSE continues to evaluate the feasibility of adding an NWSL franchise to its portfolio as a part of our own evaluation process and the league's formal process for expansion. We've had conversations and shared information with the league and other stakeholders. However, not in a position to provide an update or timetable regarding the possibility of a team, and any speculation on those questions or a probable outcome would be premature at this point, end quote. So that's Atlanta's interest. Cincinnati declined to comment on whether they submitted a bid, but multiple sources said the club's controlling ownership group is serious about adding a women's team. Jeff Birding, team president, co-CEO, minority investor, he's one of the front men for this idea. Bid group also includes female investors from the area. The NWSL team would share TQL. No surprise. Cleveland Professional Soccer, they're going to be in MLS Next Pro. They confirmed they submitted a bid to bring a franchise to the city. CPS co-founder CEO Michael Murphy declined to comment on the composition of the potential ownership group and whether they'd secured a lead investor. Bid calls for the construction of a new $150 million stadium as a part of a $283 million public-private partnership. Group has committed $193 million, or two-thirds of the funding, seeking one-third of the funding in public monies. Lack of certainty around the facility is a challenge. Murphy touted the fact NWSL club would be the top priority. And you get a quote from Murphy. Minneapolis-St. Paul. This is the Minnesota Aurora group. We know Minnesota Aurora from the time that they had
This is the second or third time they've tried, right?
Yeah. This is the Sarah Fuller team that went up against South Georgia Tormenta for the USLW championship a couple of years ago.
They were undefeated going into that game, my memory serves correctly.
And then they lost.
Yes, they did.
At home.
That was the year that South Georgia Tormenta did the double. They won the USL League One title and the women's title.
The men's women's double. I think that is the only time that we have seen a men's and women's double here in this country was with South Georgia Tormenta that season. Sidney Martinez, by the way, the keeper on that roster, signed on with Brooklyn of the USLS. So that's a big day for the Tormenta franchise as well.
Yeah, man. The some of the USL teams they're not messing around. Like Tampa's not screwing around here.
No.
Financially. We're going to see some more growth with those clubs.
Mm-hmm. And it's been fun to see Dewara Sawale for Decatur FC was signed with Tampa Bay. So we need to get Christina Uncle back on the show, I guess, after the Euros and after competition, so we can have her discuss what's going on down there in Tampa Bay. So Dewara Sawale out of LSU is with Decatur FC, and she's going to be heading to Tampa Bay in the USLS. Minnesota St. Paul group, once again, this is the Minnesota Aurora group. Chair of Investor Relations, Andrea Yuck, declined to share specifics of who's in the group, and they did confirm a group that it is assembled a group, submitted a bid for the NWSL to play in the Twin Cities. Did say it consists of a range of leaders, many of whom are women. Added the club has been in touch with Minnesota United about playing at Allianz. United have been supportive of the NWSL bid, but they are not a part of the investment group. Also discussed the Lynx and the launched PWHL Minnesota team as a part of it. So makes sense that another top 20 market would be part of the idea. The other maybes, Denver, a group called For Denver FC. They've been very vocal about bringing an NWSL team to Denver, declined to comment on whether they submitted a bid. Ben Hubbard, CEO of Denver-based insurance company Parcel and former chief of staff at USAID in the Obama administration, told local media after a recent women's national team match at Dick's Sporting Goods Park that the group would build its own soccer-specific stadium and training facility for the NWSL franchise. And then our buddy Robert Palmer down in Jacksonville put out a statement in December about the Armada, about that he launched a new group bringing an NWSL expansion team to the city. They've yet to respond to a formal request for comment from the SBJ, Sports Business Journal. Palmer's funding the construction of a new stadium, plans to break ground this summer. While the facility is initially slated to accommodate a minimum of 2,500, it'll be expandable to accommodate an NWSL team. Nashville's come up in numerous situations. Spokesperson declined to comment as to ask whether the MLS franchise was being pursuing an NWSL franchise. So there are a lot of markets here. Some of them, have stepped up. The two in Ohio, the Aurora, and I know that, like I said, we've been in and around the idea of Atlanta United with a franchise for quite some time as a part of their portfolio. But to see where the NWSL is, I mean, Bay FC's initial jump, Jarrett, I think they were drawing, at least initially when the season started, they were drawing better than San Jose was at PayPal Park.
Yeah. And to Abby's point, like COVID impacted a lot of things.
I think you're right.
And we're seeing a lot of impacts really all over the place. And impacts that have taken 4 years on now from the peak of it, but I think it's one of those things where we're still seeing impacts 4 years on that we're seeing impacts hit now. They're like, that was possibly because of that. And we didn't realize at the time. It's just knock-on effects take a while to fully hit.
Right.
It happens. Just maintain your steady growth if you're the NWSL, and just keep doing it right.
Yeah. Don't do something for the sake of doing something, even though I know that young leagues, they'll sit there and it's like, ooh, we need to do this. And they end up overextending what they've done, and it hurts them in the long term for that short-term gain. See the National Hockey League and the Arizona/Phoenix Coyotes.
Hey, but man, go look at damn Winnipeg right now. Like, like what if Winnipeg pulls in Atlanta and they have a second team league?
Wow. They are really
come back here.
Well, no, they got two ownership groups that want to chase after a club. And but I would legitimately think that the National Hockey League wants the expansion fee. They don't necessarily want to have another move where Arizona's bought by the guy that owns the Jazz and every sports team in Salt Lake City history.
Yeah.
And you got the buy there, but Alex Marullo, who isn't winning any fans or friends or favor in the desert still, he still's like, yeah, I've still got the Coyotes as part of my portfolio, and we can bring them back. Yeah, good luck on that.
Good luck.
But that's the key here. The NWSL with the new television contract and with all of the other things that are helping them out when it comes to sponsors and the growth that they're experiencing. Don't sit there and go, ooh, let's take that infusion of capital now, and it ends up impacting the growth of the league in the long term. I mean, if you're looking for 16 makes a lot of sense, but then from 16, where do you go? Do you go 2 divisions of 9 and go 18? Do you jump from? I mean, because you don't want to add 4. I don't think immediately. I think that you probably want to go to 16 and then add another 2 and then add another 2, and that puts you at 20. Then you end up with 2 conferences and 2 divisions of 5 each, and that could, help out your playoff picture. But the biggest thing here, caveat emptor, buyer beware. Just make sure that everything is in line when it comes to what you're chasing after here.
Yeah,
don't mess. You're making good strides. Keep making good strides, and don't mess it up, I guess is what we're saying.
Yeah, just keep building sustainably, even if it may not be as fast or as flashy as you sometimes want. Just keep doing things in a sustainable way.
Okay, this is interesting. Out of MLS Next Pro, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the breaking news sounder on this one because it does impact what we've seen on a regular basis here. For those of you that follow MLS Next Pro, Crown Legacy, our friends up the road, head coach Jose Tavares and assistant coach Pedro Mane will depart the club following Thursday's home match against Philadelphia Union 2. Tavares is returning to Porto. Interesting. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. But with what we've seen from Crown Legacy and how much of a pain they can be in MLS Next Pro, you're now losing your head coach and your number one assistant, and he's heading back to Porto in Spain.
Yeah, they built it like a real straight-up second team. I want to see what it looks like as their academy comes more online and they start filling it out with more academy players. So we'll see.
Yeah. So interesting news out of Charlotte involving Crown Legacy right now in the structure of the Eastern Conference. We'll go ahead and say it that way. Crown Legacy right now, middle of the pack in the Southeast Division. They are fourth. They have played one less match than Messi and Friends 2. They have one less win. That's why they're in fourth. Atlanta United 2 is at 12 points. They have played 11 matches, and they have 3 wins on the season, 12 points. But Crown Legacy's head coach and their number one assistant the head coach is heading back to Porto. No word on Mane, but the head coach for Crown Legacy in that fight for right now second place in the Southeast. OCB is a 4-4-4-2, and remember that fourth category is your shootout wins category, 18 points. Messi and Friends and Crown Legacy both at 17. Right now, that's 2-3-4 in the Southeast. Chattanooga FC is doing really well this season. First year in MLS Next Pro at 6-2-5-3. They're 8 points clear of everybody else in the Southeast, but it's a fight for those other positions. And Huntsville got their second win of the season, knocking off Carolina Core on the weekend. So
Huntsville's had to go through it too, man.
Yes.
I think that's 2 in a row. I think they've got 2 wins on the season. The last 2 games they've won, they've kind of had to put it together.
Yeah, and so that's what you're looking at with your MLS Next Pro update. And once again, Atlanta United 2, they are off the books until Orlando City, a road trip of Orlando City B and Messi and Friends 2 on the 26th and the 30th. So it's 2 matches in a 5-day period. 3 weeks off for the twos. I mean, that's just
it's the second time they've done this year. It's the part that pisses me off, though, because you're at this is the second time you have had a team have 3 weeks off. And last time when they came back in, they were rusty. And the head coach talked about it. And Steve Cook talked about it's like man, we hadn't played 5 games against opponents for 3 weeks, and we looked like it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, it's very weird to give the same team a 3-week break for weird. I don't know why they did it. Whatever reason they chose to do that.
No idea.
But that's where you're at.
Ooh, okay. Before we go, we'll talk about what to watch, where to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We do have our MLS assignments for week 20. We have them. All right, so here's where we go. We're going to keep an eye on a couple of names. Alexis De Silva is the man in the middle for NYC and Crew. Victor Rivas is the man in the middle for Atlanta United, Houston Dynamo. Your ARs, Chantal Boudreau and Jeffrey Schwartzel. Your fourth is Ted Uncle. Your VAR back in Dallas is Jorge Gonzalez. TJ Zablocki is your AVAR. Sergi Boyko is the man in the middle for Charlotte and DC United at Bank of America. Kevin Stott is the VAR. Philip Dujic is the man in the middle for Montreal and RSL. Greg Dopka is the VAR. Revs in Vancouver. Natalie Simon is in the middle. Drew Fisher is your VAR. Red Bulls in Nashville. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is the man in the middle. Elvis Osmanovic is your fourth. Adam Garner, Tyler Wyrostic are your ARs. Daniel Radford is the VAR. Rubiel Vasquez is the man in the middle for the purple team in LAFC. Yunus Morakchi is the VAR. Izmir Pekmic, man in the middle, Philadelphia and Messi and Friends. Corey Richardson's your AR. Ryan Graves is your second. Caroline Chenard is your VAR. Toronto has Pierre-Luc Lozier in the middle. Jair Marufo is your VAR. And FC Dallas has John Freeman as the man in the middle. He was also in the middle last night for the U23 match with the U.S. and for U.S. and Japan. So John Freeman will be in the middle for FC Dallas in all caps. Soren Stoichka is the VAR. Malik Badawi is your ref for Colorado and Austin. Ricardo Montero Araya is your VAR. Galaxy and Sporting, Chris Penso is the man in the middle. Carol Ann Chenard doing the Saturday double. I don't like that. But Carol Ann Chenard is the VAR. Alan Chapman is the fourth for Galaxy and Sporting. San Jose and FC Cincinnati, Lucas Zapala is the man in the middle. Timothy Ford is the fourth for San Jose and Cincinnati. So Ford is the fourth. He is not going to be in the middle.
As long as he can count, maybe that'll be okay.
Yeah. The VAR in the Charlotte match, Abby, was Timothy Ford. And that's what we were keeping an eye on. We were keeping an eye on Sergi Boyko, Izmir Pekmic, David Barry, Timothy Ford. Those are the four names that we're looking at. Boyko and Barry were the LAFC match, and Pekmic and Ford were the Charlotte match. So Timothy Ford is getting work this week, but it's the fourth for San Jose and Cincinnati.
And once again, it's one of those things where I don't know how long ago they set this schedule in place.
Yes. So something that we need to keep an eye on. Telegraph is now saying that Ten Hag is expected to sign a 2-year contract extension. The last match on the board, Seattle and Minnesota United. Rosendo Mendoza is the man in the middle. Mark Allerton is your fourth. Kevin Stott is your VAR. So it looks like the only is Maracci. So Maracci and Carol Ann Chenard are doing the VAR double, the day-night double when it comes to VAR on Saturday. I don't like that. I really don't. I don't like that when you do an East Coast and then a West Coast. I don't like that because that means that you have to be on for an entire evening. And that to me means that you probably need to have a wider pool of individuals. I get the idea of maybe picking up, 2 matches worth of VAR paychecks or what have you, but I don't like the idea of doing a double. I really don't. So the names that we're keeping an eye on going forward, and to Jarrett's point, we don't know how far ahead these assignments are made, but it was Sergi Boyko in the middle, David Barry, your VAR. Barry is not on VAR this week, or is not on any of the crews this week. For Charlotte, once again, going forward, Izmir Pekmic was the man in the middle, and Timothy Ford was the VAR. Ford is a fourth in San Jose. He is not on VAR this week. So those are the 4 names that we're keeping an eye on going forward. And once again, not knowing how far down the line these assignments are made. Before we go, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and anything else left on the board when it comes to all the activity that we're staring at. Gossip, and once again, it's Tier A sourcing. Otherwise, we tell you that it's the 3 and the 4-letter paper and take the information at your own peril. Chelsea rekindled their interest in Villa striker Jean Duran. It looks like that there might be something of a swap idea with Conor Gallagher going and Jean Duran coming in. Juve advanced talks to sign Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. Chelsea's Levi Colwill remains a target for Bayern Munich, despite their interest in Bayer Leverkusen defender Jonathan Tah. That's from Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. Bayern have started negotiations with Leverkusen for same. Colwill, however, settled at Chelsea. Club don't want to sell him. Manchester United preparing to rival Arsenal in their pursuit of Bologna forward Joshua Zirkzee, who's got a £34 million release clause. West Ham are ahead of Villa and Spurs in the race to sign Tammy Abraham from Roma. Arsenal face a challenge to keep Denmark U17 forward Cheeto Obi-Martin, who is wanted by Bayern Munich. Manchester United have drawn up a short list of attacking options: Ivan Toney and Jonathan David, highly regarded. Vincent Kompany at Bayern wants to sign Joe Gomez from Liverpool. West Ham have offered defender Ben Johnson an improved 5-year deal. Fulham are leading the way to sign Congolese forward Silas Katompa Mavumpa from Stuttgart, who's valued at £15 million. West Ham have made captain Kurt Zuma available for transfer. Arsenal willing to sell Kieran Tierney at a loss, with an offer in the region of £15 million likely enough to secure him. Pascal Gross is in talks with Brighton about extending his contract. Crystal Palace, Ipswich, Southampton battling it out for Rochdale Welsh defender George Nevitt, who is 18. Graham Potter is now the leader in the clubhouse right now for Leicester. And that is intriguing in and of itself. So carousel kind of floating in and around and seeing where it goes with all the information. Reminder, Drew's 3D on Eric Ten Hag coming up later this morning, and we'll have that all laid out for you as well. The Euro 2024 TV schedule is out. We'll go over that tomorrow, or we'll go over that on Friday with everything starting. If you can make it out to West End on Friday, please do. We're there from 3 to 7 as a part of everything. Scott Flood and the Flood Project and our friends at Kaiser Permanente. It's going to be great to kick off the Euros here in the summer of soccer, and Scott has done yeoman work to get everything all laid out today. USA-Brazil friendly is tonight, 7 o'clock. TNT, True, Telemundo, Universo. ESPN Plus at 3 o'clock. It's the second leg of the Liga Segunda with Eibar and Oviedo. Memphis 901, Rhode Island FC. So it's glassy and it is parky. 8 o'clock tonight on the Plus. Max is also simulcasting the friendly with Brazil. Paramount Plus has the Argentine Primera. 6 o'clock doubleheader, Argentinos Juniors, Central Cordoba. Godoy Cruz, Rosario Central. 8:15, Gimnasia La Plata, Baracas Central, Independiente, and Bonfield. If you want to pay for the pay-per-view on Fanatis, you can for Ecuador and Bolivia at 8:30. Peacock also simulcasting USA and Brazil as well. We talk about Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You can get into True Sicko's world of Liga 1 Max, CDO for the fans, Gold TV, Nuestra Tele, all the BNs, Teisei, and you can watch all the things there at Fanatis. Jason got me hooked. I blame him. fntz.co/soccer down here. I was watching some Liga 1 in South America last night, as a matter of fact. And so I had that on with everything else going on with YouTube, with USA and Japan. Tomorrow, once again, it is Thursday. Like I said, we're chasing down Glenn Davis. Hopefully we can have him on to discuss what's going on with Houston, bring his perspective in. And I know that folks are sitting going, how do we stop Houston? I don't know if Glenn will let us know about that. But if we can track Glenn down, we sent out the request and the bat signal. Hopefully we can catch up with him either today or tomorrow or Friday, worst case. And Nico joining us at 10:30 tomorrow as well. It looks like San Antonio FC is going to be hosting Deportivo Saprissa July 13th at Toyota Field. Very, very cool there for those of you in the area. And also registration at Georgia Soccer now open for the U.S. Club Technical Leadership Level 1 course hosted by Georgia Soccer August 13th through December 17th. It's virtual, and you can go to at Georgia Soccer on the Twitters, and you can find out more information there as you wish. As always, it's great to catch up with Tyler, great to catch up with Dylan, great to have Jared on to talk about things, and it's always great to have you guys on here as well. So that is another go-round of Soccer's Morning Show, Soccer Down here in the live form. And if you want to go back and listen to all the segments, we'll have Dylan's segment up, we'll have Tyler's segment up, we'll have the host show up later on in a bit. Once again, remember the 3D for Drew Dickinson, the Drew Dickinson Diatribe as he looks at Eric Ten Hag back in. That is going to be up there as well. So a busy day on the network. Don't forget to download the Spreaker app. It's like speaker with an R in the middle, and then do a search for Soccer Down here, and that way you can listen to all of our things and do it that way. So once again, back in a little less than 22 hours, and we'll be talking about everything here on Soccer's Morning Show, as we always do. Thanks to all of you guys. Mucha plati, I'll play it safe, and since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. See you in a little less than 22.